Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of the Willow Cove Crafts podcast, a podcast about knitting and sewing and my other crafty endeavors. My name is Emily, and you can find me on both Ravelry and Instagram as Willow Cove Crafts. Today is Sunday, February 20th, and I am coming to you from just outside of Madison in Verona, Wisconsin. So, if you are a returning viewer, you may have realized that today is a little bit of a surprise episode. I have mentioned a couple times previously that I was not planning on recording today. If you are new, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. But to catch you up, So I go into a lot of detail about this in some of my past episodes, so definitely go check those out if you are interested. But the long and short of it is that I have a medical condition that requires surgery to fix, and I was scheduled to have that surgery this past Wednesday, the 16th. And I was not expecting to record today because I thought I would be in the midst of early recovery and probably would not be up to filming a video. And so the fact that I am filming a video today, maybe you put the pieces together that I did not end up having my surgery on Wednesday. So Wednesday came around, and if you've ever had surgery before, you know this, but there's a lot that goes into preparation for surgery. You have to, at least at the hospital that I went to, you're supposed to take several disinfecting showers. You use this special disinfecting soap. You have to make sure like your sheets are clean. There's all of this stuff that goes in to like pre-surgery. Before you even show up at the hospital, you have to fast. I think that one's pretty well known. So anyways, I did all of that in preparation for my surgery on Wednesday. And then Dan and I got to the hospital, and we were at the hospital for about an hour, and, just going through the whole pre-op, routine. I got shown to my room. I had to do another disinfecting, they gave me these disinfecting wipes, and I had to wipe down my whole body with them. So I did that. They took my vitals. They took a couple specimens for labs. I was in my hospital gown, in my bed, in my room. And then my surgeon came in and he said, "Unfortunately, we are not gonna get to do this today." So yeah, that was a massive disappointment. He explained to me that someone had come in earlier that day needing emergency surgery, and it was taking a lot longer than they anticipated. And so, that surgery was, not just for me, but kind of down the line was presenting some delays with the scheduled surgeries because that was pulling resources away. So for me specifically, there wasn't an operating room, there wasn't anesthesia staff. I think, I kind of stopped listening after a minute because I was kind of in shock. But I think my surgeon said that there was someone in that surgery who is supposed to help out with mine. So anyways, it just wasn't a great setup for me to have surgery that day. And he said, realistically, we would not be getting to my surgery until maybe early evening. And he's like, there's a shift change, and, this is not one that we want to just kind of scramble together at the end of the day. So he said it would be best for us to reschedule. So yeah, no surgery for me yet. And I completely understand, right? It's emergencies happen. Someone really needed extra help and attention that day. It was still really frustrating and disappointing though, because you know, there's a lot of like mental energy. I've expressed here that I'm really anxious about this surgery. I just like want to get it over with. And, you know, I was like ready to go, and to like have it be canceled while I was like literally sitting in my hospital bed was, yes, it was one of those like scenarios that didn't even play in my head. Like I didn't even know it was an option to cancel that late in the game. But yes, so I am now having surgery tomorrow morning, hopefully. I'm scheduled to have surgery around lunchtime tomorrow. And, you know, I figured, why not put out an episode? I am less anxious now than I was the first time around. I think the amount of disappointment I felt that it got canceled like really put things into perspective for me. So now I'm like ready to go, ready to have this done. And hopefully tomorrow will be my day. So yes. But yeah, I figured I've been getting a lot of knitting done. I was in quarantine before my previously scheduled surgery. I just like went straight back into quarantine afterwards. I've been working from home, so I haven't had a commute. I haven't been seeing my friends. I haven't really been doing anything besides knitting in my free time. So I have a lot done. Not so much like a variety of projects, but I put a lot of knitting into one project specifically. But I figured why not film an episode today and, you know, kind of give myself something to do in my last day before I hopefully have surgery. Yes. It'll happen eventually. Hopefully tomorrow's my day. I've mentioned this before. I have a lot of anxiety, and like one of the ways my anxiety manifests is I kind of call it like extreme thinking. I tend to, you know, think about like the most outrageous thing that could possibly happen in a situation. And so like having my surgery postponed has now made me very anxious that it's gonna get postponed forever. Like I'm never gonna have surgery. It's just gonna constantly get postponed, which I know like practically is not true. However, that is like my current anxious ruminating thought that I'm trying to get under control. So anyways, I've been knitting a lot, stress knitting, just trying to like get through the days and get to Monday. So putting out an episode as a way to distract myself today. The other terrifying thing that happened this week, so I went and opened up my closet. So I have yarn stashed everywhere in my apartment. What you see behind me is only a small portion of my stash. I have a very big stash. Yes, that is a whole nother conversation. But anyways, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment and I have yarn in every closet, in a lot of drawers. It is hidden everywhere. So earlier this week, I opened up one of my closets and I saw probably the worst thing I could possibly ever see. And it was a singular moth sitting on the wall in my closet. Just one. So needless to say, I like ripped through my entire yarn stash and looked at everything. I did not see any evidence of damage, eggs, larvae, you know. For those of you that are not familiar, moths, and there's a lot of different types of moths. I don't know if this moth was a wool moth or a casing moth, I believe is the other one you want to be careful of. There's 2 species of moths that like to eat animal fiber. This one may or may not have been one. I squished it immediately. I did not take a minute to look at it super closely. And But yes, moths, adult moths don't have mouths, so they will not eat your yarn. What the big concern is that they will lay their eggs in your yarn or on your sweater, and then the eggs turn into larvae, and the larva likes to munch, and that is where the big problem is. So anyways, I looked at all of my yarn. I keep my yarn pretty secure. You know, everything is in a box or in a plastic bag, or I have some canvas bags, which I think is okay. I've heard mixed reviews on the canvas bags. Some people say that they are like the best thing to keep your yarn safe, and some people say that the moths will eat through canvas. It's pretty thick canvas with a zipper top, so I hope it's fine. But anyways, all of my yarn is like really secure. But of course, you know, if you see a moth, you should go investigate. And it was terrifying because I thought I would see a larva at any turn. I didn't find anything. So, and I was reading online that like one moth is maybe not too much of a cause for concern. It's when you see multiple moths that maybe indicates that you have some sort of infestation. It's also winter time, so I'm hoping it just like found its way in and didn't like get to anything, and just went into my closet because it was a dark space. That's the other thing, moths really like darkness, they really like stillness. So, you know, I don't worry as much about this yarn because it's like out in the light. I do get concerned sometimes about the stuff I have stashed away in my closet because I don't touch it very often. It's very dark in there. And that's where I found the moth. So anyways, I am keeping a very close eye out. Again, everything is secure. I think I've packaged my yarn up as best I can to help prevent any sort of infestation, but you know, things happen. And it was terrifying to see. Yeah, I'm telling myself that it's probably fine. I found a moth once in one of my old apartments and never had an issue after that. Again, the bugs can find their way in, but hopefully if you've stored your yarn correctly, they won't actually infest anything or lay their eggs anywhere. But yeah, I'm still like nervous that I missed something, or you know, those eggs are hard to see sometimes. So yeah, maybe in a couple weeks I'll have to have another look just to see if things still look okay. But yeah, that was the other big event of the week. That was very terrifying. I can't imagine. Like I said, I have a big stash, and to think of how much I've invested into it and to just have it lost to pests would be so upsetting. But hopefully it's fine. I didn't see any issues, just the one lone moth. It's winter, so maybe it didn't lay any eggs. Like it's not the right time of year from what I can tell from my reading. What a week. So let's get on to some knitting content. I'm not wearing any knitted objects today. I'm being really lazy and just lounging. So I didn't really like put myself together for this, but yes, not wearing any knitted objects. I don't have any finished objects this week. And I have 3 works in progress to show you, 2 of which you have seen before cast on, and 1 I've introduced as a future plan, and I have since started that project. So anyways, let's start, and I'm going to kind of go in a little bit of chronological order with what I worked on this week. So to start off, I put a couple of inches onto my mom's socks. So I've been working on these. I think I started these last week. I have a little bit of a tangle. Whatever, hopefully that's fine. I showed these to you last week. Here is my marker of where I am at, but I am knitting my mom a pair of socks for Mother's Day. That's something I try to do every year. My mom really loves and is always super appreciative of hand knit socks. I've knit her a couple other things, and she wears them occasionally, but not a ton. I sometimes feel like she's afraid of ruining them. But her socks, she wears all the time. Literally every time I see her, she's wearing a pair of socks that I knit her. She really loves them. So yeah, it makes me really happy to see her wearing all the socks. So I try to make her a couple pairs every year. And yeah, I had mentioned that this is kind of my next monogamous project. But I also had kind of timed the start of this project to be more of a recovery project. I figured after my surgery, it would be good to have something small on the needles, that might be a good foray back into knitting. And so on Sunday I was knitting on this, and I knit all of this on Sunday, and I maybe got to the middle of the afternoon on Sunday and realized it felt like these socks were flying off the needles. They were going so quickly. And, I thought to myself, if I keep monogamously working on these socks, they're going to be done before I even have surgery. I'll at least probably have one sock done by the time I go into surgery. And the whole point was to have these as a project for after surgery. So anyways, I decided to stop working on them. So yeah, again, I worked on these for a couple hours on Sunday and then decided to set them aside because they were just going too quickly, which is normally a really great thing. But yes, I decided to slow down on these a bit. And then yes, after I have surgery tomorrow, and I'm back to knitting at some point in the next couple weeks. This is what I'm going to pick up. Here is the yarn I am using in the cake. This is really tangled. I don't know what has happened down here, but I will deal with that later. Here is the yarn. My mom specifically requested a pair of green socks. So I picked this really nice spring green. It's pretty color accurate. I think it's leaning a little teal on the camera, but it is a light green. This is Fiddle Knits yarn on the Aria base, which is a 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina, and this is the Hummingbird colorway. So yes, this is sparkly. I don't know if it really picks up on the camera. Maybe a little here and there. It's very sparkly. And yeah, my mom is a sparkly lady, so she gets sparkle socks. I am not a big stellina person, personally. I'm just not into like glitter and shiny things. But my mom is. I've mentioned before, my mom and I are like polar opposites when it comes to style. She likes like really loud, bright things, and I am much more muted in my preferences. So anyways, a fun pair of socks. It's nice to knit with the fun colors and then give that away to someone who will really like them. So yes, just a plain pair of vanilla socks. I'm doing 72 stitches on a size US 1. And yeah, I'm maybe about an inch and a half away from starting the heel flap on the first sock. So again, putting these away for a little while. And then yeah, maybe I'll pick these up. I'm very hopeful I'll be able to knit later this week. Post-surgery. I'm gonna keep saying that because I'm like putting it out into the universe that like I am going to have surgery tomorrow. It is going to go well, and I am going to be able to knit soon thereafter. And that is just the way it's going to be. My next work in progress is my granny stripe blanket. I put a couple stripes in on this. So I will show you. Where's my marker? So last episode, and again, I didn't work on this a ton, but I did work on it, so I wanted to show you. Last episode, I was on this kind of orangey brown stripe, and since then, I have added this white. I really loved this yarn. It's kind of a cream base, and it's got blue and orange and yellow speckles in it, and this kind of brick red stripe as well. So yeah, I mentioned last time that I was not super liking this section of the blanket. I love all of these colors individually, but just this kind of sequencing of them was not making me very happy. But since then, I really love these 5 stripes together. Just kind of all of those warm tones all together. Sorry, I didn't mean to flick you off. Yes, really happy with that. So yeah, I just decided, you know, after I put my socks down and decided I wasn't gonna work on those anymore for the time being, I thought I would put a couple stripes into my blanket. And yes, there you have it. There's not much else to say, except all of the information about it, I suppose. So I am following the instructions by Attic24. If you're interested, I've put a link in the video description below with a link to that blog post where she talks about how to make a blanket of this style. Her pattern calls for a DK weight yarn. However, that can be very easily adjusted to whatever weight yarn you want. I am using fingering weight mini skeins that I have purchased from a variety of different independent dyers. I've also put a list of that below in the description. I cannot tell you which minis came from which dyer at this point, but you can see a list down there of the ones I used in case you are interested and want to go get some minis of your own. And then I am making my blanket king size, and to accomplish that, I believe I chained 422 stitches. I don't know the crochet lingo, but 422 was my kind of foundation chain. And I mentioned that I should call this out, but I am using a size F hook. And, you know, I'm assuming that's a lot like knitting needle sizes. F is probably American. It's a 3.75 millimeter for those of you who use the metric system. And this is just a cheap boy brand hook I probably got at Michael's 100 years ago. So that is what I am using to make my blanket. My last work in progress this week is one that I have talked about in my last couple episodes as a future plan. And that is my Jensen cardigan. I had swatched for it last time. And then I had mentioned that, you know, maybe I would just get it started. So I had it ready and on the needles. And then after I decided to not work on my socks anymore for the time being, I just decided to go full force on that sweater. And I have a lot of progress on it. So let's start with the yarn. I am knitting this sweater out of Holst Super Soft. It came on a cone, and I wound off about half of the cone because I am holding the yarn doubled. And this is a 100% wool. The cones are 500 grams, which I think ends up being a bit over 3,000 yards. So obviously holding that double, I have about 1,500 yards of a DK weight, and that should definitely be enough to get a sweater. But this is the Pebble colorway. It's getting a bit blown out. If I hold it a bit farther back, I think that is more color accurate. But yeah, it's just a very light, not light, mid-toned, brownish gray color. And yeah, the Jensen cardigan is just a simple cardigan. And in a neutral, I thought it would be an excellent basic piece to add to my knitted wardrobe. So anyways, let me show you how far I got. Let me hold this up in a way that makes sense. But here it is. So I got to sleeve separation, as you can see, and I am maybe about 3 inches into the body. It is hard to show cardigans. They just kind of like roll up onto themselves. But yes, this is maybe the most progress I've ever had on a sweater in 1 week. I just, again, all I was doing was knitting. I was really stressed out, and I just knit, and have a lot to show for it. I feel like I have quite a few things to say about this. So again, this is the Jensen cardigan by September Knits. I believe that designer's real name is Rachel M. Reese, and then she designs under September Knits. And it is a really nice, simple cardigan. And yes, I have really been enjoying knitting this. It is a raglan cardigan. However, she includes a lot of interesting shaping that I think is helping it to fit a bit better than kind of a standard raglan would. So in case you're unfamiliar, a raglan is, you know, a sweater construction where you're basically doing increases at 4 points, the fronts of the shoulders, and then at the same spots on the back. So you've got 4 points of increasing, and then you're just, you know, increasing along those 4 points. And so she has you doing some like interesting double increases along the way, just to create, you know, what I think is going to be a nicer fit than, you know, your standard raglan. And yes, the pattern is also really nice because it includes quite a few different options. So she's got a couple different length options. She's got a couple different button band options. You can either do a standard button band or a big shawl collar button band. And then she has options for pockets or no pockets, which is one of my big questions for you all. I have been really struggling with whether or not to add pockets. And I'm curious what you all think. Here are my thoughts on it. And I asked 2 of my friends who are also knitters what they thought, and they both said add pockets. And I immediately was like, I don't know if I want to add the pockets though. Yes, the pockets, I think make it look a little more like polished, a little more professional. However, my goal with this was to make something that was a bit more casual, a bit more of a throw on. And yeah, I felt like the pockets maybe detracted from that a little bit. I am also planning on, so I'm gonna do the standard button band. I'm not the biggest shawl collar fan, like big shawl collars. So I'm gonna do the standard button band, but I'm not gonna add buttons or buttonholes. I'm just gonna knit it plain because I don't typically close up my cardigans. You know, I just like to keep them open. So that's my plan for the button band. And then because it's like an open cardigan, it doesn't have any buttons, I just feel like that maybe lends itself to being a little bit more of a casual piece. And the pockets, I don't know. I feel like the pockets make it look, again, more polished, but I don't know if that's the look I'm going for. And I have been like looking at all of the project pages for this cardigan on Ravelry, and I like look at the button or the pocket ones, and then I look at the non-pocket ones, and I like both of them. And I can't decide whether or not to include pockets. So I would be curious if you have strong feelings about pockets versus no pockets. The pockets would definitely be purely aesthetic. I don't see myself putting anything in the pockets and like actually using them. It would just be for looks. So yes, to pocket or not to pocket? That is my question. So yeah, I probably have a couple weeks until I get to, you know, the time that I need to make a decision. Because yeah, I'm not gonna be working on this right after surgery. But yeah, I would be curious what your thoughts are on pockets. And then my other thought is there are a couple cardigans that are similar that I want to make at some point in the future that have pockets that I would definitely include pockets on. There's just something about this one where I'm like leaning towards not doing pockets. I don't know. Pockets are great. Everyone loves pockets. Let me know your thoughts about the pockets. What else to say about this? Yeah, so I'm holding the fingering weight yarn double to get a DK, and it is knit on a size US 8, which makes the fabric pretty loose. I think you can kind of see that, like, you can see my face through the fabric. Ooh, I'm losing stitches. It will fluff up quite a bit when I wash this. I've mentioned before that the Holst garn has a lot of spinning oil left in it. I lost a stitch. Hold, please. Ah. The Holst has a lot of spinning oil in it, and so that, you know, kind of mats down the yarn, and so it's got a bit of a crunchy look while you knit to it, but then once you wash it, all of that oil comes out and it really blooms up. So yes, sorry, I was completely distracted by my lost stitches and I can't remember what I was saying. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, Jensen Cardigan by September Knits. I'm really enjoying it. It's a nice, simple project. It's going really fast. I think because it's knit on pretty large needles. Yeah, it just feels like it's flying by. Oh, the other thing, so I'm following it to pattern at the moment. I do have plans to make a slight modification. So there's ribbing at the bottom, 2x2 ribbing. I don't think that's giving too much away. There's 2x2 ribbing at the bottom. But the final stitch count before you do the ribbing is a multiple of 4, which, if you're, into knitting math like I am, a multiple of 4 for 2x2 ribbing is really great if you're knitting in the round, because you have a perfect multiple of 4 for your knit 2, purl 2 repeat. But if you're knitting flat in a cardigan, I would think you would want a multiple of 4 plus 2, so that you can start with a knit 2 on one end and end with a knit 2 on the other end. What do they call that? Like fence post? Am I making this up? You've got more fence posts than fence middles. Anyways, so the way that the stitch count is, you're going to do knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and then you're going to end with a purl 2, and that makes it not symmetric, which I don't know if I can handle. So anyways, I might add in like 2 extra stitches somewhere to get a number that will help me start and end with a knit 2 for my ribbing. And then same with the collar, the button band. She has you picking up a multiple of 4, which is going to have the same problem. You're going to end up with a knit 2 on one side and a purl 2 to end the other side, when you can just pick up 2 extra stitches and make it a little bit more symmetric. So yes, that is likely a modification I'll make. So anyways, let me know what you think about the pockets. That's really the final decision point that I need for this sweater. And I think that is it for me today. I feel like this was a little bit rambly. Yeah, I have a lot of things weighing on my mind these days, which will hopefully all get resolved tomorrow. So yes, anyways, I know I've said this before, but I do not plan on recording next week or the week after. Hopefully I will be in recovery, but you never know. So yeah, I will plan on recording again as soon as I am able, we will say. Which could be next week. You never know. The way things go sometimes. Anyways, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. I look forward to chatting with you all again in a couple weeks. If you are new, again, thank you so much for stopping by. If you liked this, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment. I love to hear from you all. And I will chat with you all again soon. Bye, everyone.